Home for Game 7. More reaction from the Heat after the Game 6 victory in Boston.
I think we just, we won the game. We haven't done much. We still got to go home and protect home. All we did was go out there and win a basketball game. That's all that really matters, try to win one game.
Yeah, I think we just did our job. We've been saying it this entire series. It's not finished yet. We got Game 7 at the crib, and we need to win.
Jimmy. Everybody counted us out. Everybody thought the series was already over, and I mean that's all the motivation we needed.
Yes, they did, and they thought that the Heat were done, Brian Windhorst, because they played the way they did in Games 4 and 5. Now they play this way in Game 6. You saw it with your own eyes. I mean, you never are shocked in sports, I guess, because anything can happen. But you tell me your reaction to the performances you saw, particularly from Butler.
Yeah, it wasn't that the Heat weren't capable. It's just that we didn't think they were healthy enough.
Exactly.
And right out of the gate in the first quarter, before Jimmy Butler was even hitting the three-pointers, he jumped the passing lane and raced to the other end. And it was like that was more quick twitch than we saw at all in Games 4 and 5. And it was like, wow, he definitely feels better. Can this keep up? Kyle Lowry was out here on this court at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock for an 8:30 start, trying to get that hamstring loosened up. They are fighting against a lot of things right now, and they just were able to get a little bit healthier. And they might get even a little bit healthier again for Sunday, because it sounds like Tyler Hero might be getting close to getting back. So, they just made shots. And I will say this, Scott. Erik Spoelstra never wavered. He sounded the same after they lost Game 4. He sounded the same after they lost Game 5. He sounded the same after tonight. He is a rock. He has been that way for a decade, and I think it rubbed off on his team because I think that his team had a very positive approach to this game.
Yeah, look, I mean, the belief in that room is rooted in what they'd done all year, but I don't think it was unreasonable to doubt it after what we'd seen of late. Having said all that, I don't think that it's reasonable to ask you what you think will happen in Game 7, because how the hell do you know? But I'm going to ask an unreasonable question. What do you think is going to happen in Game 7?
Well, I think the biggest factor is, does Jimmy Butler have another game like this in him? His activity level was dramatically improved. And I'm not saying that the free throws were the definitive thing here. Just look at the free throws. 26 in Games 1 and 2. 6 in Games 3, 4, 5 combined. 11 tonight. That right there is the indication of his ability to react, to get to the basket, to get by people. Can he come back in 48 hours and have another game like that? Maybe not to score over 40 points, but where he can be that impactful. I don't know. But I was talking to somebody around the team tonight, and I was like, how did Jimmy do this? And he said part treatment and part mentality, that he sort of willed it. And that kind of sounds weird to hear somebody say they willed their knee, but we just watched it. So, the Heat have a chance. The Celtics haven't lost back-to-back games with their full roster since January. They're 6-2 on the road in these playoffs. They actually got a much better record away from here than at home. So, tune in on Sunday. We'll see what happens.
Indeed. We saw a remarkable performance from Butler, and we saw Woj wander into his shot and realize he was in the shot. Tell Woj, keep your poise. Stay out of the live shots, okay? Tell him that's what me and Stanford Steve
say. It's his first day.
All right. It's day one stuff, Woj. We got a live shot. All right. Love you, buddy. Thanks. See you, bro. Is coming in just a moment. Meanwhile, the Heat force a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference. That's Sunday night. Jimmy Butler in Games 3, 4, and 5, averaging 9 points a game. Something special was required. Herculean, even. And put the team on his back, though. Butler was ready to deliver in a big moment with 47. Erik Spoelstra on his Stars performance.
We're facing a very good team. So our guys just embrace that kind of challenge and the competition that we're faced with, and then their defense, is so strong that sometimes you just need your great player, to make plays. It wasn't a matter of schematics or things like that. Jimmy just brought his competitive will tonight, and it was a will that would not let us lose.
Stephen A. Smith joins us once again from Boston. And Stephen A., if we were right all the time in our business, you and I'd go to Vegas and we get the penthouse and we just bet on games and win them all, right? But if you're going to be wrong, at least you got to see a performance like we saw from Butler tonight, and this series goes back to Miami Game 7. I just wonder, you've seen a lot of great performances. Frame for me how you feel Butler performed on this stage.
Well, I'm sitting here shell-shocked. I was absolutely stunned at the spectacular performance that Jimmy Butler had, not because I thought he wasn't capable of it if healthy. Like I told you, last game, watching these guys over the last 2 games, it felt like an infirmary. Kyle Lowry was hurt. Jimmy Butler was hurt. Strus was hurt. Everywhere you looked, Oladipo was the only one that looked relatively healthy. He only had 3 points last game. You watch these guys get off the team bus. You watch these guys walk into the locker room following their Game 5 loss. They looked like they could barely walk. That's why I thought it was all but a guarantee that Boston would close them out. But somehow, some way, the medical staff of the Miami Heat looked like they deserved the MVP outside of Jimmy Butler because he was absolutely spectacular and unstoppable. He was a man amongst boys. There's no doubt about that. But let's be honest. Yep. On our worst day, we cannot assume that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum would spend the first 11 minutes of a fourth quarter taking one shot.
Yep.
One. Jaylen Brown scored 2 points in the entire second half. On his worst day, nobody would have ever predicted that. And so when you look at it from that perspective, the level of inefficiency, the lack of aggression, the inability to get off in any way, shape, form, or fashion is not something you anticipated would happen. Jimmy Butler dropping 47, that is the story, and it deserves to be the story. But if there's a second-tier story, it's the fact that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were no-shows in the fourth quarter. In terms of attempts, not even makes, attempts, that's what we're talking about here. That's why we're going to have a Game 7 back in South Beach.
Yeah, Stephen A., old guys like you and me remember, the Fred Sanford walk, right? Like, literally, they got off the bus. I saw Kyle Lowry, and he's walking like Fred G. Sanford, and then they found something. And it was remarkable because we had P.J. Tucker on earlier, and no one doubts the greatness of this team if they're right, but they didn't look right in games 4 and 5. So right. That's what made this so shocking. Boston's shown quite a capacity to go on the road and win, both against Milwaukee and against Miami, and they have superstar players. Predicting anything in this series is a fool's errand, but I just wonder, based on that fourth quarter in particular, what's your sense of what you think you'll see from the road team Sunday night in Miami out of Boston?
Well, listen, Game 7 is for all the marbles. We understand that. The reality of the situation is that all the pressure is on the shoulders of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They've been in Eastern Conference Finals before. How many are you going to lose? That's the question. Jimmy Butler recently got to the NBA Finals. The same can't be said about Tatum and Brown. And by the way, the East doesn't look any weaker. Giannis Antetokounmpo is expected to have a healthy Chris Middleton next season. Joel Embiid might have some help next season. Atlanta might be back in the fold next season. Boston can't count on these chances being available to them. So Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are going to be called upon to step up because I think it's fair to assume that Jimmy Butler is going to answer the call in the Game 7. And by the way, Kyle Lowry, a champion who looked like he could barely walk after the last game, shows up here and hits 4 3-pointers, gives you about 18 points, was efficient and a threat all night long. So the bottom line is this Game 7 in South Beach. I started this series saying Boston was going to win in 7. I'm going to stick to that. But I got Shaquille O'Neal bugging the living hell out of me, FaceTiming me after every quarter, telling me to call him Shaq-Adamus because he predicted that Miami was going to win this game in this series. So after I finish with you, Scott, I got to hear Shaquille O'Neal's mouth for the rest of the night because he was telling me all game long Boston was going to lose, and he ended up being right.
Tell Shaq that Van Pelt says hello, and I'm sure you got Draymond in there. Tell Draymond that P.J. Tucker said thank you. So if you got that in your plans for the next 5 or 10 minutes, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you sharing a couple minutes on SportsCenter as always. Be well. Enjoy your trip back to Miami, my man.
Well, you know I'm going to do that.
Yes.
Have a nice evening, Scott.
Indeed. Hit my guy Miles at Prime 112. Get his table for my man. All right. I'll see you, Stephen A. 5 and 9. You're not going to find anybody with more Game 7 experience. They have both the most wins and the best winning percentage among teams to play Game 7s. Tim Legler is with us. And Tim, man, we've been complaining. Let's be honest. The playoffs haven't been awesome. This game was fantastic. All you want is great players to play great. Butler did. Turning point in the fourth. What do you got for me?
Yeah, this is the single greatest individual performance we've seen in the postseason. What you saw tonight out of Jimmy Butler, the circumstances, the way he played coming off that game.
Postseason.
Absolutely.
Right.
Within this postseason, without question. And this is, to me, by far the biggest possession of the game. This is after the Celtics had hit a couple of threes. You know, this is what Boston is trying to accomplish. And at all costs, they want to keep this guy right here, Marcus Smart, right? Defensive player of the year. You want to keep him on Butler. So what they're trying to do is these hard shows and have Marcus Smart get back to him. So you're going to see Strus come up here and set the screen and then peel out. And what Boston is trying to do, you've got the initial defender, you got the second defender. They want White to show, and then he's going to run out, hoping that Jimmy Butler doesn't turn the corner with a hard line drive, because if he does, you can see Marcus Smart is out of position to track this down. So he's behind the play the entire time. And then the guy that it puts pressure on is Al Horford. He's standing here watching it, but Butler gets past him so quickly that Horford can't react. This is just a great read by Butler, and it's a blown coverage by Boston because of a bad angle by Marcus Smart. That's the biggest possession of the game. And then on the other end, here's what they started doing to Jason Tatum in the fourth quarter. They just aren't going to allow him to operate one-on-one. He gets the matchup he wants. This is the guy he wants to play against, but he's not just playing against him. You got 4 defenders back there on the back line waiting. As he starts to go, Scott, watch the way they collapse on Tatum, forced to kick out 3. You get the miss. That's how they played Tatum the entire fourth quarter.
And Tucker comes up with a big rebound, some big steals. And Tim, I'm gonna call it 20 real quick because we got PJ Tucker with us right now live. We will come back to this, and I welcome PJ Tucker back to the program. PJ, welcome back to the show. It's Scott Van Pelt, man. Thanks for taking a moment to visit after just an incredible game. Look, the last 2 were struggles for you guys. You've been through this so many different times with so many different teams. Take me in your guys' locker room. The game's